Alright, man. Goku and DC Season 3, Episode 1. The Justice League learned about what Goku did. So let's get into it. Meanwhile, at the Watchtower's main conference room, the holographic playback from Cyborg's lens flickers to an end, leaving the Justice League in a stunned silence. The footage shows Goku, eyes burning with fury, unleashing a devastating energy blast that engulfs Slade and the collapsing lab in a blinding explosion. The sheer destructive force leaves no doubt that Slade was deceased, completely obliterated by Goku's wrath. Superman couldn't believe his brother had executed Slade like that, and wondered where he got that behavior from in his travels, because their parents didn't raise them like that. Wonder Woman crossed her arms, with her usual stoicism wavering. Grief and rage can drive even the noblest warriors to extremes, she said. Batman's glare was icy. I warned you all about his instability. Raj Al Ghul, for God's sakes, trained him, and now we see the results of that. Aquaman leaned into the table, shaking his head. The boy lost someone he cared about. We've all been pushed to our limits. Cyborg, standing beside Robin, spoke up. Goku's not a killer. Slade manipulated him, tortured his friends. This wasn't just some cold-blooded act. Robin's fist clenched as he began to speak as well. He's hurting, and now he's gone. But what he did was wrong. Cyborg exhaled heavily. We need to find him before his anger leads him down a darker path, potentially. Batman's voice was final, or before he decides someone else is too dangerous to be left alive. The Flash leaned against a console, rewatching the footage on a smaller screen. His usual playful demeanor was absent, replaced by a quiet contemplation. Flash doesn't answer immediately. He pausing the playback just before the blast. Look, I fought beside Goku. We all have. Yeah, he's reckless. And yeah, he loves a good fight, but he's not a cold-blooded killer. Right? Batman scoffed. Well, that footage would say otherwise. Flash shook his head. You didn't see him after Terra died. He was broken. Slade took everything from him. Mind controlled him, tortured his friends, and he killed someone he cared about on top of that, who sacrificed her life to save his. You really telling me that it's not impossible for any of us to have snapped like that? Robin hesitated. It's not about snapping. It's about control. If we can't keep it together in situations like that, then we are liabilities. Flash stood up with his voice firm. Or maybe he's just a guy who's lost too much, kid. Ever think about that? Aquaman stands at the holographic display with his arms crossed. His expression was unreadable as the footage of Goku's final attack replayed. When Batman condemns Goku's actions, Arthur's voice cuts through the tension like a blade. Slade got what he deserved. The League turns to him, surprised by his bluntness. If he had killed one of my people, Aquaman continues, his tone low and dangerous, I would have dragged him into the depths and let the hungry beasts of the ocean have their fill. Batman's eyes narrowed. That's not justice. No, Arthur counters. It's not your form of justice. But in Atlantis, my people would feel differently. He steps forward, his presence commanding. Slade tortured children, brainwashed Goku, murdered Terra right in front of him. You expect restraint after that? You think any of us would have done differently? I know I wouldn't have. Wonder Woman considered this. Yes, Themyscira's laws demand punishment for such crimes as well. Exactly, Aquaman says. Goku didn't kill a man. He vanquished a monster. And if any of you claim you wouldn't have done the same, you're lying to yourselves. Superman frowned and said, but we're supposed to be better. Better doesn't mean letting pure evil walk away, Arthur snapped. Slade shows his fate the moment he raised a blade to a kid. Goku just made sure he never got the chance to do it again. The room falls silent. Even Batman didn't immediately respond with a rebuttal. Aquaman turned away, his final words leaving no room for debate in his eyes. If that makes Goku a killer in your eyes, then so be it. But he's still a hero in my eyes. Robin stepped forward, his fist clenched at his sides. His voice was steady, but the weight of his words carried the pain of someone who had seen too much too soon. Look, I get it, he began, locking eyes with Aquaman. Slade was a monster. He manipulated Goku, tortured us, and killed Terra in cold blood. If anyone deserved to die, it was him. He took a breath, forcing his anger down. But that's the problem. Deserving doesn't make it right. Slade was already beaten. He was on the ground unarmed, and Goku executed him. Point blank. Batman's gaze sharpened in silent agreement, but Robin didn't need his mentor's approval to know where he stood on things. Like Superman said, we're supposed to be better than the people we fight against, Robin continued. That's the whole point. Yeah, emotions were high. Terror was our friend too. But if we start deciding who lives or dies in the heat of the moment, we're no different from the villains. He looked around the room, challenging them. What happens next time, when it's not Slade? When it's someone who might deserve a second chance, but we're too angry to care, and they lose their life? Flash opened his mouth to argue, but Robin cut him off. I'm not saying Goku's a calculated, trained killer, but what he did was wrong. And if we don't hold him accountable, if we just call it justice and move on, then we're saying it's okay. And it's not. And the room fell silent again. Batman's voice was cold, measured, cutting through the tension like a knife. He stepped forward, his cape casting a long shadow as the holographic footage of Goku's execution replayed once again. Of Slade. This, he said, gesturing to the frozen image of Goku's enraged face mid-blast, is exactly why I had Robin monitoring him from the start. The League turned to him, their expressions a mix of apprehension and defiance, but Batman didn't waver. Look, Goku is powerful. He's also unpredictable. And now, we have proof that when pushed, he doesn't just cross the line, he blasts right through it. His eyes flicked to Robin. The Titans had Slade subdued. They were bringing him in, but Goku, in his rage, decided justice meant execution without trial. That's not heroism, that's vengeance. Superman frowned. Bruce, he just lost someone he cared about. And that's the problem, Batman interrupted. Emotions make us human, yes, but they can't dictate our actions when lives are at stake. Goku's power level makes him a walking catastrophe if he loses control of himself. What if next time it's not Slade? What if it's some misguided villain who could have been redeemed, like Robin said? Or worse, what if his anger begins to turn on innocence? Wonder Woman folded her arms. You speak as if he is a weapon of mass destruction and not a person. Well, Diana, that's because he is a person. More powerful than most weapons, Batman countered. He's a force capable of destruction, and that's why I had Robin watching him this whole time. Not out of distrust, but necessity. The Titans knew the right call. Apprehend Slade, let the system handle him. But Goku's impulsiveness, his lack of restraint, overrode that. And now we have to ask ourselves, can we afford to let someone with that kind of power operate without oversight? Aquaman scoffed. So what's your solution, huh? Lock him up? Batman's gaze darkened. My solution is accountability. The moment Batman's words left his lips, the room erupted. Wonder Woman was the first to react, her eyes flashing with fury as she slammed her palms onto the conference table, the sound cracking like thunder as splinters fell out of off the table itself. You used a young hero to spy on another young hero. Her voice was low. Dangerous. Robin was his teammate, his friend, and you turned him into your informant. Superman's jaw tightened. His usual warmth was replaced by disapproval. Bruce, tell me you didn't. Batman didn't flinch. Yeah, I did what was necessary. Aquaman let out a sharp, disgusted laugh. Ha! Necessary? You planted a spy in a team of teenagers and called it justice. He shook his head. No wonder Goku left. How could he trust any of you after this? Cyborg systems flickered with agitation. Man, that's messed up. Robin was reporting back on Goku's every move behind our backs. Robin was standing stiffly beside Batman, looking down at the floor, his face hidden behind his mask. But his clenched fist betrayed his shame. Flash, usually the first to lighten the mood, was uncharacteristically silent at that. When he finally spoke, his voice was hollow. You know what the worst part is? I bet Goku knew. The whole time. And he still called Robin his friend. Wonder Woman stepped forward, her tone cutting. You speak of accountability, Batman. Yet you manipulated your own protege into betraying his team members' trust. If Goku is a loose cannon, then what does that make you? Huh? An all-seeing eye? Batman looked her in the eye and spoke. Thorough. It makes me thorough. The League exchanged glances, the weight of the revelation settling over them. Trust had been shattered, not just between Goku and Robin, but between all of them. and Batman didn't seem to care. The tension in the watchtower was already suffocating, but when Beast Boy stepped forward, his usual playful demeanor was completely gone, replaced by something hollow, broken. His eyes were red-rimmed, his fists trembling at his sides. The room fell silent as he spoke, his voice raw with grief. I don't want to be a hero anymore. The words hit like a shockwave. Cyborg reached out instinctively. No. Beast Boy shrugged off his hand, his voice cracking. You don't get it. Terra's dead, Goku's gone, and all you guys care about is whether he crossed some imaginary line. He gestured widely at the hologram of Slade's execution. That bastard killed her. Right in front of us. He tortured us, brainwashed Goku, and you're sitting here arguing about justice. Wonder Woman softened. Garfield, grief can cloud. Don't. He cut her off, tears spilling over. Don't act like you understand. You weren't there. You didn't see her die in his arms. His breath hitched. And now Batman's treating Goku like some type of villain? Or a villain in training? After everything? After he was the one who made Robin spy on him? He roared on Batman, his voice rising. You want to talk about trust? About accountability? Maybe look in the damn mirror. Superman stepped forward, gentle but firm. Gar, we're all hurting, but walking away won't... It's not walking away, Beast Boy snapped. It's waking up. I joined the Titans to help people, to be better. But all this, he gestured around the room, the secrets, the lies, the hypocrisy, I'm done with it. He turned on his heel, shoving past a stunned Flash. Robin lunged after him. Gar, wait. Beast Boy shifted into a rat to avoid the grasp and ran out, not looking back. The doors hissed shut behind him, leaving the League in silence. Cyborg sank into a chair, rubbing his face. Well, we just lost another one, and no one had an answer to that. Starfire had been silent throughout the League's debate, her usual warmth absent as she absorbed the weight of Batman's revelation. When she finally spoke, her voice was soft, but carried an edge of deep hurt. Goku was my friend, she said, her glowing green eyes fixed on Robin. He was our friend, and you watched him, reported on him, as if he were some type of threat. Robin flinched, but Starfire wasn't finished. She turned to Batman, her tone hardening. He saved my home planet. He fought beside us, laughed with us, trusted us, and all this time, you just saw him as something to be controlled, something to be monitored. Wonder Woman placed a hand on Starfire's shoulder, but the Tamaranian princess gently shrugged it off. On Tamaran, trust between comrades is everything. To betray it intentionally is unforgivable. Her voice wavered slightly before stealing again. Robin, you were his teammate, his brother, and you never told any of us what you were doing. Robin opened his mouth to defend himself, but Starfire cut him off. No, you don't get to explain. You had months to speak, to warn him, to warn us. She shook her head, disappointment radiating from her. Goku deserved better. And so did we as a team. With that, she turned and walked toward the door, her steps deliberate. Cyborg called after her, but she didn't look back. I need time, she said quietly. Away from this deception. The door slid shut behind her, leaving the League in a heavier silence than before. Another Titan lost. Another bond severed. Raven stepped forward, her hood drawn low, but her voice was cutting through the tension like an arrow. The room fell silent as she spoke. Her tone was measured but firm. I know what it's like to lose control. Her words carried the weight of personal experience. The League turned to her, some with curiosity, others with skepticism. Batman's gaze was unreadable, but Raven didn't waver. Anger, grief, fear, they can make you do things you'd never consider otherwise, she continued, her fist clenching slightly at her sides. I felt it. I've been it. When my emotions overwhelm me, I become something else entirely, something very dangerous. Her glowing eyes flickered in the frozen image of Goku's enraged face, just like he did. She took a slow breath, steadying herself, but one moment of weakness doesn't erase everything else. Goku has saved lives. He fought beside us, bled for us, protected us. He was reckless, yes, impulsive, absolutely, but he was never cruel, never malicious. Her voice hardened. Slade murdered Terra right in front of him. He kidnapped our friends, brainwashed Goku into breaking criminals out of prison, and you're acting like executing him was some type of unforgivable sin. Wonder Woman's expression softened slightly, but Batman remained unmoved. Raven met his gaze head on. You want to talk about accountability? That's fine. But don't act like Goku's the only one who's ever crossed the line. How many of us have come close? How many of us have wanted to? Her eyes flicked to Superman, then back to Batman. The difference is he didn't have the luxury of restraint in that very moment. The room was silent. Raven exhaled, her shoulders relaxing slightly. Judge him if you want, but don't pretend this one act defines him. Because if it does, then none of us are heroes. We're just hypocrites, because we've all been close to that edge. With that, she turned and stepped back, leaving the League to sit with an uncomfortable truth that was within her words. The debate had raged on, voices clashing in the Watchtower, conference room like thunder, but Superman had remained silent. His jaw was set, his fists clenched at his sides as he absorbed every accusation, every defense, every painful truth that laid bare. The footage of Goku's final furious attack played over and over in his mind, not as a condemnation, but as a cry of grief. Then, without a word, he turned on his heel and strode toward the exit. Batman's voice cut through the tension. Clark, where are you going? Superman didn't even stop. To find my brother, Bruce. The simplicity of his answer hung in the air, heavy with unspoken meaning. Batman's eyes narrowed. You heard what happened. You saw what he did. At that, Superman finally paused, his back still turned. What I saw was a teenage boy who lost someone he loved, he said quietly. I saw someone who pushed past his breaking point. He glanced over his shoulder, his gaze steady. And I saw a league so quick to judge him that they forgot who he really is. One woman stepped forward. Clark, we're not abandoning him, but this conversation can't be ignored. No, Superman agreed. But it shouldn't be weaponized against him either. His voice hardened. Robin spied on him, Slade manipulated him in so many ways, and Terra died right in front of him, in his arms. And now when he needs us most, we're sitting here debating whether he's some hero or villain. He shook his head. I'm done talking behind my little brother's back. Batman's tone was icy. Your little brother executed a man. Before anyone could respond, he stepped into the Watchtower's launch bay and took off into the void of space, a streak of blue and red against the stars. Goku is out there somewhere, hurting alone, and Clark wouldn't let his brother grieve by himself. The tension in the Watchtower was thick enough to suffocate as Batman's piercing gaze swept over the remaining League members and Titans. The debate had fractured them. Superman was gone, Beast Boy and Starfire walked out, and the rest stood divided, but Batman wasn't done. Enough, he said, voice like gravel. The room fell silent. Sentiment won't change the facts. Goku made his choice clear at the end of Cyborg's recording. In the footage, he tapped the console, replaying Goku's final words. I never wanted to be a hero, or a leader of the Titans. Batman let the words hang, cold and damning. He renounced his role. He executed Slade in cold blood for a desire for vengeance. And if he continues down this path, targeting those he deems deserving, he's no better than the killers we lock away. Wonder Woman's eyes flashed. You condemn him so easily. I'm not condemning him, Batman countered. I'm holding him accountable. The League has rules for a reason. If he operates outside them, if he becomes judge, jury, and executioner, then he's not a hero. He's a rogue, and rogues answer for their actions. Aquaman scoffed. You'd really try to hunt him down? Batman didn't blink. If he crosses that line again, yes. His glare was final. This isn't about punishment, it's about prevention. Goku has power we can't ignore. If he can't control it, someone has to. With that, he turned and strode toward the door, his cape billowing behind him. The meeting was over. The message was clear. Goku was no longer one of them. And if he stepped out of line again, Batman would be waiting. Goku stepped onto the porch of the Kent farm, the evening air cool against his skin. Inside, the warmth of Martha's cooking and Jonathan's quiet understanding had been a balm. But the weight of Terra's deaths and Slade's execution and the shattered trust of his team still pressed down on him like a physical burden. He didn't even want to talk about it. Couldn't. Not yet. But the quiet of the Kansas fields at least gave him a space to breathe. And then he felt it. A familiar presence hovering just above the farm. Goku looked up and there he was, Superman, floating in the twilight sky like a specter of the past. His cape rippled in the breeze, his expression unreadable from this distance. But Goku didn't need to see his face to know why he was here. The League had seen what he'd done by now. They'd judged him, and now Clark had come to deliver the verdict that he really didn't care about. For a long moment, neither spoke. Then Superman descended, boots touching the grass with barely a sound. His voice was quiet, but it carried the weight of the world. "We need to talk." Goku clenched his fists, bracing for the disappointment, the condemnation, but when he met Clark's eyes, he didn't see any of that. He only saw sympathy. And that's the first episode, man. That's the aftermath of Goku deleting Slade. Let me know what you guys think, man. I'm going to come out with the next one sometime soon. Be sure you like, share, and subscribe. Peace.